Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and my fellow toasted strools back to the channel. This is your host with the most, A.K.A. also known as Nelson. And today I thought to myself, well, you know what? I want to do a little bit of multitasking. And yes, y'all, I do have my shirt off. And no, you're not going to see any titties. I promise y'all that. I ain't going to show that off, you perverts. All right? Relax. But today I said to myself, I want to do a little bit of a combination of a little thing with just, grooming. And also I want to touch on something that I had a conversation with a group of friends of mine a few days ago after they had asked me about one of my previous videos that I just put up about our trans woman sus. And they didn't make it all the way through the video because they wanted to pause it for a moment. And again, since they have access to me on Discord, which again, I'm most likely at some point, put my thing down there for you guys who want to reach out to me. If, my Twitter, which I do put in my description box below. If you don't fuck with Twitter and you don't feel like commenting, but again, you want to share your thoughts and your opinions whatnot with me, again, maybe that's another way you can get access to me. But anyhow, all that being said, because when we were talking, again, they reminded me something very interesting that, again, I often do think about. And I said to myself, I think this is a perfect opportunity to just delve into it while also just, get my stuff, shaped up. And yes, y'all, like I said before, yes, I'm going to get a haircut. Trust me, y'all. But I said to myself, I'm going to take care of this at least. So the first thing I want to talk about, and I know for those who come back, I know some of y'all might be low-key thinking, does he have the water? Unfortunately, yes, I have the sink water, but I'm not going to use that. But real quick, to give a disclaimer for anyone who's new here, I typically always say, please stay hydrated, even though I always present, a cup of water for you guys to see physical representation. But unfortunately, I don't have that access to me. So real quick, there you go, little drips of water. So make sure, stay hydrated, what have you. And second, typically speaking, again, I try to get to the gist of my concept of the idea I'm trying to get at in the first 5 minutes I possibly can. After that, that's why I usually get into my usual spiel of a little bit too long-winded. Then, you can fuck off and go on about your fucking business. Because, bitch, if that shit ain't for you, it ain't for you. Fuck off. Anyhow. And guess what? If you have a problem with the way I'm addressing it, what have you, again, you know what to do. All right, bitch? All right, bitch. Anyhow, for the rest of y'all who are patient with me, thank you very much. But anyhow, not to get too long-winded into the introductions, let me get into what I want to talk about. And in particular, what came to mind was, with my friends, they reminded me of a very important concept to understand and always take into consideration anytime you're engaging with someone or you're, let's say, putting your thoughts out into the world. And that is understanding the difference between stating your opinion or sharing a particular thought that you possess or you have or you conjured up or however it came about to you in the public space and in a private space. Because here's the important thing you always have to consider. It's one thing for you to say, let's say something that could be considered to be controversial within a public sphere, but let's say more in your private life, it may not be as received in that kind of aspect. For example, when I was speaking about trans women, the thing is, again, I stated in the beginning of that video that my intention is not to, again, be rude, crude, or anything like that. Again, the intention was with that video, and I still mean this now, and again, I'll probably mean it somewhere 30 years down the road if I'm still around that long, is that, again, I'm trying to create a dialogue that, yes, does feature things that are going to be uncomfortable to most people to discuss and say. Because guess what? The thing is this. I'm perfectly fine with trans women. I have no problem with them in any kind. Again, on a personal note, because I'm going to take you as you are. And here's the thing. I acknowledge that you're not a monolithic mindset necessarily. Now, granted, some people who might be watching this, some of y'all might come from that kind of background where you allow opinions to take root of you rather than you objectively observing that opinion. You let it have you. You let it possess you. So that's the thing. When you want to make a statement out in the public, you have to recognize that, or I would like to advise, and at least say that, you want to recognize and advise people that, hey, if you have a certain thought or you have a certain opinion, just recognize that, yes, if you put out in the public, it is a certain sense of scrutiny you're going to face. Granted, even if, let's say, you are objectively right or you're objectively in the wrong, it's going to happen one way or another. And in that case, you ultimately have to be prepared for the fight that might come ensue. Now, here's another important part they brought up to my attention that, again, I want to bring up to you guys' attention. Give me a second. I'm just brushing off the hair off my chest. I'm going to let y'all get a little chest hair in there. There you go. You're savages. Anyhow, oh, and just so you guys know, I am going to use, old school blade. Even though I do have the razor, and I do use the razor a lot of times, I said to myself, you know what? I kind of want to just go back to the old school way. Not old school, where motherfuckers probably use rocks and shit. Just, a good old razor. Oh, and of course, I got to wet myself. Relax. I know how that came out. Relax. I'm talking about my face, y'all. Okay? Okay, got to get it moisturized a little bit. But anyhow, give me a second. Now I'm just going to do the top for today. But anyhow, going back to my thought process, is that, yes, is it fair to be said that, give me a second, some people you may meet may not care to understand where you're coming from, regardless of how your intentions at heart may be. So I recognize that in my eyes, I might be covering a certain subject in my eyes that I recognize is controversial, but to me, it's not really that much of a controversial matter in the first place, to me. But I recognize that for some people it is. And of course, I want to be respectful towards them and say, okay, I want to acknowledge that it has a very poignant significance to you. But at the same time, let's not pretend as if that significance is something that everyone predicates in their own life. For example, like, let's say, for instance, whatever happens in the LGBTQ plus community may not necessarily affect me outrightly, but it's going to affect me on some level. I can recognize that. But let's say on a day-to-day basis, I mean, again, however it may affect those individuals who participate in that community, they way over there, I'm way over here. But on some level, it's going to affect me at one point in time. So, of course, I recognize that in that moment, I, of course, don't want to speak, ignorant on a subject matter that I'm not well versed in. However, let's say if you have the notion that, oh, you shouldn't speak about this because to me, it's like, to an extent, I get what you're coming from. And I came up to this point in time or to this realization, y'all, is this. Yes, to an extent, there are certain matters that are not yours to necessarily discuss or get involved with, but at the same time, I would not say that you should be left out. And I'll sum it up like this. Give me a second. Wash my hands real quick. But I'll sum it up like this. And I'm pretty sure most people within the right mindset can understand where I'm coming from, and this shouldn't really need to be expanded upon. It should be, I should be able to simply put it like this. There are certain conversations, there are certain activities, there are certain just things about life that, yes, some people can participate, but it's not meant for you. Okay? Like, I'm giving a quick example to be said. Pride Month. It's Pride Month as the recording of this video. And they are typically associated with, different I don't know why for some reason I can't say this word. Let's say activities and what have you to celebrate the pride of the LGBTQ plus individuals, right? Let's not necessarily the community, but let's say the individuals that it may or may not represent. Let's say that. And so here's the thing. Me as a heterosexual man, I may not be the most poignant person to quote unquote celebrate it, but I would not say that I should have the capacity to, of course, excuse me, y'all, have the ability to say participate. But I recognize that this month, all those activities are not for me specifically. I know that. That's for a certain group of people. But guess what? I make sure that, hey, it's not for me, but I'm not opposed to you guys having it in the first place. Okay? But let's say this, if somewhere down the road, these activities start to fringe on certain things that I'm not going to say are things they cannot participate in or they can't not expose necessarily, but what's the word I want to say? They cannot put out in the world, but it's like you have to understand, okay, there's a setting for these things. Like, for example, that might be certain pride activities, let's say that are more prone for the adult scene versus children. You get what I'm saying? To me, if you can't make that distinction and say, okay, if you bring your child to a pride parade, for example, it's like it would not hurt to be like, hey, there are some parades that you probably don't want to bring your children. There's some that are perfectly fine you want to bring your children. You get what I'm saying? But then if you took that notion, you say, oh, so you say we all want to turn your kids gay, or we want to turn your kids to that. If that's how your mind works, and you automatically go to that, to me, that's being disingenuous. You're not really listening to what the person is saying. You heard what I said, you're not listening to what I said. Or better yet, this is something I share with my friends, is that there's some people who listen to you. See, they'll listen, but they only listen so they can respond to what you're saying, versus listening and trying to have an understanding and comprehensive, or have a better comprehensive understanding of where are you coming from this thought process. And here's the thing, you don't have to agree with it. But if you're working towards, excuse me 1 second. But excuse me, y'all. But again, if you're someone who so quick to jump the gun or jump to conclusions, it's like at that point you can't be surprised with people who get frustrated with you, because it seems like you want to be heard. Here's the thing, this was crazy. And be honest, some of y'all gone through it. Hell, I probably gone through it on some level where I want to be heard, but I don't care to listen to somebody. That don't make no fucking sense to me. Or better yet, it's like this. You are asking for your piece of cake, but then you don't want no one else to get a slice of cake. How the fuck that works? Personally, that don't make no fucking sense to me. To me, it don't make sense. And you know what? Granted, because I'm sharing a little bit of something with y'all on this too. All right, I'm gonna share something else with y'all. Because just like what movie was it? I think I want to say the which one? The one with Christopher Nolan, I think so. The second Batman movie he did. Was it Batman Forever? No, not Batman Forever. It was The Dark. Was it The Dark Knight? I think it was The Dark Knight. But you know, the one with the Joker. And in that movie, the Joker has a bit of line. No, it's not Joker. It was Alfred, who said that there are just some people in the world who wants to, or there's some people who just want to see the world burn. And that's the thing. There are some people who do not care for a logical understanding. There are some people who will ignore pure logic. Or let's say this. There are some people who are so engrossed in the extreme of things, that's all they know and that's all they care to know. They don't want to try to find a more sounding balance of life. They are enthralled in the chaos. But at some point, the chaos takes over them. They are not, let's say, the ones who chart chaos. They allow chaos to chart their course of life. You get what I'm saying? And it makes sense. Mm-hmm. Oh, let me show y'all a little tidbit of something that I typically do. You got like kind of like puffy, not puffy cheeks, but you got like I guess like, what's the word I would say? Not, well, for the sake of this, I'll say puffy cheeks. Something I typically like to do sometimes when it comes to hair that's kind of like hanging on the edge, like right here, but it's not coming out of the way as you know, putting the blade through. I kind of like puff up my, I do it like this, like a puffer, like a puffer fish. Not do like that, just kind of get it. Just a little tip if y'all to share when I was thinking about it. Anyhow, and again, I know this video is probably gone long enough. Trust me, I'm almost done. Anyhow, hold up. Oh yeah, for any fellas out there and ladies too, and my fellow toasters out there, when you're shaving, I want to know, do you guys sometimes see like you got a little hair where you don't have a unibrow necessarily? I'm gonna show y'all. It's like right here. You don't have a unibrow necessarily, but there's a little hair kind of growing right there. So me personally, even though I know that most people probably don't see it, but I know that it's there, so it kind of bothers the fuck out of me. So I'd rather go ahead and just knock it out of the way personally. So I just go ahead and just knock it out of the way and just be careful not to, you know, cut too much like on the edge of, you know, your eyebrow stuff so you don't fuck that shit up. Because trust me, that's going to be much more noticeable than some hair you got like right here. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you know, the moral of the story, I guess the point what I was trying to bring up with this video is this, is that no matter what comes to pass, regardless of if you state your opinion, your thoughts and what have you, be it in the private, be it as public, always recognize that yes, it's going to have its risks and its concerns in either way. At the end of the day, whatever you say is going to be open to interpretation. It's going to be open to the scrutiny, to criticism. And you should be open to these things. However, if you guys remember, if some of y'all watch this video, and you go all the way back to my first video, I said this. Understand, there's a difference between someone who's giving you criticism and someone who's talking their bullshit. Okay? I say this, y'all. Again, I'm open to your criticism. Be open to criticism. But have a firm understanding of what bullshit sounds like and how it operates. Don't just focus on how you hear bullshit. Understand where does that bullshit come from. You get what I'm saying? So you have a better understanding of when people are spewing their bullshit, you can decipher, okay, I hear your bullshit, but perhaps there is some fruit in the midst of your horse shit that I'm, you know, trying to get around. You get what I'm saying? But anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, my toast strudels. That's all I just wanted to say on this video. And don't worry, I got another one for you guys in just a minute. I just gotta get myself ready. But thank you for coming out and checking the channel out. I appreciate y'all. I will catch y'all next time. Again, if you do your boy so kindly, like, subscribe, comment, all that good jazz if you could. Post notifications so you know when I put up a video. But other than that being said, I love y'all. Namaste. I'll see y'all. Peace out. Hey, down. Bye.